involved. The next show we do is probably going to be the end of October. My idea, I'd love to have all three of you join us, but I think the next show, since school is starting, I think it's vital that we get the kids at the next show, whether we do it at Massapequa or Oceanside or Long Beach. I think it's important to really raise awareness to from grammar, middle school, high school. What do you think about that, Andrew? The next time to get the students involved and really raise awareness to the kids?
Well, I think having youth participation is always a great idea. So I would certainly support that. And listening to Stephen and Bob, I would imagine that they would agree. And their efforts are really all about engaging young people, engaging families, but reaching young people in that process. So I think it's a great idea.
Stephen, in your experience, and I'll bring this to all three gentlemen, is that the drug epidemic, is it, in your opinion, a disease, and where a person, for instance, their mother and father could be drug addicts, and they could just be predisposed? Talk about that, about being, that a youth just might have the disease and it has to fight extra hard to beat it.
Yeah, well, I totally believe that. It's definitely nature and nurture, though. It's not either or, and there's no formula or set thing like, oh, your parents are addicts, you're gonna be an addict. Oh, your parents weren't addicts, you won't be an addict. That's not. But you're more susceptible to being an addict if you have addiction in the family. However, I do believe you could break the chain. You know what I mean? And I do believe I was born with the disease of addiction. It just took until I picked up for the first time that it was actually unleash the beast, so to speak. You know what I mean? But addiction goes so much further than picking up a substance. That's a symptom. That was my solution. The substances was my solution. My problem is me. I medicated my problem with drugs and alcohol. And somewhere along that line, drugs and alcohol stopped working. So that's why any treatment, any 12-step fellowship, it's about changing me. It's not about not drinking. It's not about not using. I went there to stop using, and I stayed because I needed to change me. And I have to continue to change me. If I'm not moving away, I'm moving towards, the drink or the drug. And so yeah, I definitely 100% believe that it's a disease. I may never be cured, but my symptoms will be arrested, if I continue to do this. And just real quick on the topic of the youth movement that you were talking about, it's completely necessary, 100%. There's no greater impact than a peer-led movement. A peer will have greater impact on a peer than I'll have on the person, than you'll have on the person, than a cop will have, than the parents will have, than a friend will have, than anybody. A peer-led movement will be the greatest impact and have the most success, I believe. I've seen it. I've seen programs. I went to a coalition convention in Washington, D.C. There's a lot of peer-led movements there, and it was honestly one of the most beautiful things to see. Kids stepping up, kids taking action, and kids doing it, and they were creating a wave in their school that was beyond anything I've ever seen. I've been trying to speak at Long Beach High School. Like we were talking before, there's a lot of politics in Long Beach, and the saddest part is that the parents are the biggest barriers, and if it's not their child, they don't want their child to hear it, but they're not thinking about the other child that may need it. You know what I mean? And that's being part of the problem. To me, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. That's where I'm at with this, and it's sad, but it's true.
Bob, I think great idea. So our next show is going to Massapequa, and you get some of the high school kids and the grammar school kids, and they're receptive, working with Kiwanis and having us get the word out, because I think it's so important, vital, to spread awareness to the youth of society.
I completely agree. The Kiwanis has many youth groups that they work with. whether it's Builders Clubs or Circle K or Camp Kiwanis or any of the organizations within the schools, there's always some Kiwanis group. So there's so many kids that are influenced by things that we do. I just want to touch upon one thing. It's a great point, right? Now I'm an old guy, so my kids are all in their late 20s, mid to late 20s. So when I was young, I would think nothing of going out in the car. 18 was the drinking age back then, and we'd have a couple of beers and drink and drive. We didn't really think anything of it back then. Today, my kids never go out without a designated driver. They're calling cabs, they're calling Ubers. It is such a different mentality for a lot of the kids today than it was when I was that age. Not all, but a lot of them. So, but that awareness started at a young age. And unfortunately, the parents are the blockade. They go, I'm not talking about drugs in front of my kids. I went to speak at a junior high school, and one of the vice principal came out and said, don't make it too hard on them, don't make it too rough, don't really give them the hard message. Well, you know what? If you've ever seen a Dr. Dewey speak, or some people speak, and they have pictures of 12-year-old people, 12-year-old kids, boys and girls, that are completely devastated by drugs at 12, 13, 14 years old, you can't give a message that's too hard, I don't think, right? So, of course, tempered based on, reality, right? But unfortunately, if we can get the young kids to understand that message coming up, and the parents, we were at a meeting just a few months back, and a school board parent said, "Oh, that doesn't happen in my town." This is a school board parent, and saying the wife of a school board member, and it doesn't happen in my town. Well, it does. It was right under your nose. And the denial in the parents are the block. They refuse to admit that it's in their community, but it's right here. Look at the police blotter. Look at what's going on. We just put signs up. We worked with Nassau County through the Kiwanis, and we spearheaded this. Big metal street signs that say, if you see something, say something. Here's an app that you can download on your phone, and if you see something, call, and it'll send it to the police, Crime Watch, and they'll call, and they'll come, and they'll send a car and try and give us some enforcement of that. So if the parents get on board, the only way we'll do it is through things like this to create awareness. So great job for talking about it.
Yeah, I got to bring up